Hello everyone. In this video, I'll go over the different steps of my process on how I made a 2D background for a client by using 3D modeling to help me with the base, going from this to this. Let's get started. My client wanted an illustration with a look reminiscent of a cel-shaded and flat 3D look from video games. That's why I thought adding a bit of 3D inside this illustration could have a great effect. The first step is to model a scene in a 3D software. I personally use Blender in this case. Using a 3D software will give you a base with perfect perspective to work on. We will not put any textures or color on any object with the scene because what we are after is only the perspective and lighting of the scene, to give you references. The second step will be to render two separate images from this 3D scene. When you found your point of view with your camera, you will first render a basic image with a cel-shaded look. You can achieve this through different methods depending on your 3D software. On Blender, you can add a node with a gradient shader and compress it so the transition between black and white is done by hard steps. In Cinema 4D, you can use the sketch and tune effect. Or you can also do nothing in the 3D render and render it as a smooth gradients, and then modify it in Photoshop with something like the cutout filter. Then we will also render an image with only the line art. Again, this is done differently depending on the 3D software of your choice. In Blender, I use the freestyle render option for simple scenes, but here you can also use the grease pencil if you want more control over different kind of lines in your scene, and add modifiers to these lines. In this image, I used the grease pencil with two different lines, with the outline being thicker than all the lines inside an object. We render this image with stronger lights to make sure everything is white in the scene, and you can also later tweak it in Photoshop with the levels tool, for example, to make it only black and white. For the third step, we will start the drawing part. Again, use whatever program you want. Here, this was done in Photoshop. Import your two shadow and line art images and set them on multiply mode. Uncheck the shadow layer, grab your lasso tool, and we'll start by blocking in some flat colors underneath the line art. When you're done, if you have only your flat colors visible, it should be completely covered and with sharp edges between colors. This will allow you later to use the magic wand to quickly select a color area and use this selection as a mask on other layers, such as applying textures to colors independently. The next step will be to paint in some trees and some sky, because the 3D ones were just placeholders and are really ugly. For this, I used reference images from Ghibli movies like Totoro, quickly brushed in some volumes, and applied filters in the art gallery to enhance the effect and blend it more with the 3D aspect. You can add a cutout filter to restrict colors, and then add a diagonal one to simulate brushstrokes in a direction. Before we go on, just a quick word from our sponsor, which is myself. If you're looking for digital tools to elevate your creativity, improve your skills, and speed, check out my store. You'll find multiple brushes emulating traditional media, or even experimental brushes that produce effects unique to digital painting, photo presets, technical gradients, LUTs, seamless textures, and a lot more. All of the assets are created by me to be used in my professional workflow and are made to achieve consistent, high-quality results and happy customers. Check out my store on Gumroad or QBrush, links in the description. There's also free downloads available, and you can even pay with crypto. For the fifth step, we'll add textures above different parts of the image. Here I search for texture of street pavement, roof tiles, and plaster. For each texture, you can set them in overlay blending mode and apply filters to it to make them fit into your image. Again, I'll use the cutout and diagonal filters on Photoshop. Then you'll transform and distort the texture to fit the plane it's supposed to go on. You can use transform in Photoshop and then right click to select distort. We bring the edges of our texture image to fit the plane, and here we go. It doesn't matter if you go outside your plane, because when all the textures for one color are done, we'll go and select that color with our magic wand on the flat color layer, then go back to your texture layer and apply a mask. This will mask anything outside of the selection. For the last step, we'll add some overall lighting on the image. We start by turning on all our layers, the line art and shadows, because we want to now have a view of what it would really look like. There are so many ways to go about this step, but here's what I did in this image. On a layer in overlay blending mode above everything, we can add a radial gradient to add a focus to a certain part of the image. With overlay mode, everything lighter than 50% gray will lighten the image underneath, and anything darker will darken it. And colors will also add a tint. So we apply a gradient that goes from dark gray to light gray towards the center of this image, because I know I will put characters in the center front part of the image, and I want to draw attention to them with a kind of a vignette effect, lighter in the center and darker on the outside. And here we go, we have finished our background, ready to drag in my characters and tie all of this together. I hope this video was useful and gave you lots of ideas on how you can implement 3D in your painting workflow, as this can really enhance your work. Thank you very much for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime, keep creating. Bye everyone.